What it is, y'all. Welcome back to another Danmachi episode review. Today we're looking at Season 4, Episode 19, and this was one... I adore this episode so much. There is a lot that there was to have in this episode, to enjoy in this episode. Overall, I'm just going to give this a really high score, but there is a downside to this that we are going to have to discuss. But to start this off, of course, we get another glimpse at the Estrella fam, and we actually get to see Lyra interacting with Ryu, which is really interesting. And you learn that a lot of the negotiation, as she calls it, negotiation, blackmail, intimidation techniques, etc. A lot of that stuff that Ryu knows, a lot of the stuff that's like, her less than less than reputable dealings, you find out she learned from Lyra, which is kind of funny. I enjoyed that a little bit. But, you get Lyra. Basically, you're getting everybody's take on this. You got Kaguya's take, you got Elise's take, you got Lyra's take. And we're getting close to the end of the season, so I'm curious to see. I'm sure Estrella is going to show up next episode, and we're probably going to get, a follow-up to all of this here real soon. But I'm really enjoying this little intro moments. And this really came into play, actually, in the episode. But to kick this off, this episode was all Belle and Ryu. If you remember the end of the last episode, they show up at the Coliseum. And you heard, at first it sounded almost like the Juggernaut was, right on them, right? Like, you heard these sounds of monsters and banging and clacking and clashing. And it's just one of those, oh boy, this is coming to it. But no, as you find out in the episode, it kind of leaked a little bit last week, it is literally the sounds of monsters clashing. And as they kind of explain it, the monsters are pretty much indefinitely spawning, right? Like, a monster will croak, and then a new one will spawn to, take its place. So it's a really interesting situation. So the monsters are just permanently fighting. Unless, as they kind of foreshadow, there is an intruder. Now, this went down a little different than I thought, but because I'm caught up in the light novels, and those of you that have, please avoid putting spoilers in the comments. There are a few people watching this that are anime only, and we don't really want to spoil what may be revealed later on, as they tend to do. But what was really, really fun here, so you get, let's say fun, for lack of a better way to put it, but Belle and Ryu basically start approaching this thing, and they realize they're like, this is surrounded by monsters. And Ryu's like, she kept one of the cloaks of the skull sheep. She's like, we can shroud ourselves in this. And then she had a drop item, the heart of the barbarian. And she's like, we can literally smush this up and just cover ourselves. And then we can mask both our visuals and our scent. We should be able to blend right in. And for the most part, they do. They go by, I forget what they're called, the Pengulas, I think is what they're called. Those monsters that poisoned Belle last episode and breathe fire on top of it. There's just a mass of them, and they're able to just meander through them pretty easily. A heart-pumping moment, but really, really, it was not that much of action to it. It was just suspense. And that's one thing I do appreciate about this episode. This episode, while it does have action, the suspense and the writing in this episode is phenomenal. And we mentioned it a while back, but you could really tell that Amori is on staff this time, because a lot of the stuff that they would prior just kind of gloss over is really, really, really being drawn out here. And so in the case of this, the suspense of this episode is just amazing. 10 out of 10 suspense. I loved it. And so finally they get into the Coliseum, and you start to see it literally is just a giant Coliseum. It's literally a Coliseum in the middle of the dungeon. And Ryu's like, we have to get straight across this bad boy. So it's like a big circle. I mean, you watched the episode, hopefully. It's a big circle with 4 entrances on each, northwest, east, south, and east. Easy way to put it. And she's like, we're on the south side. We have to get straight across to the north side. Obviously, I don't give it directions, but I'm making an easy visual for you. And so they have to go all the way 180 degrees around the perimeter of this thing in order to get out. And they're literally just shuffling along. And periodically a monster will pop up. And they'll kind of stand there for a minute and hope that it deviates. And the first time it happens. The second time, Belle is snagged by the ankle by one of the skeleton monsters and is just picked up. And that's it. Their cover is blown. Now, I personally kind of thought, having not read this volume of the light novels yet, I'm now in volume 13. Thank goodness. I'm always a volume behind when it comes to the episodes. Busy schedule, guys. I don't want to tell you. But the episode. So basically, Bella's picked up by this thing, and I really thought this was going to happen by the time they get to the other side, and they're just going to have to bolt. Right? That's kind of your typical takeaway. No, they're like maybe an eighth of the way there. And they've literally just got to fight their way there. And just to like kind of gloss over it, because it's literally just them fighting for their lives. Eventually, Ryu hands Belle a blaze stone, and is just like, actually, I think she did it at the beginning of the episode. But anyway, he's got a blaze stone, and she's like, you need to forge a path ahead. I'll worry about behind. You go. And so Belle is bolting, and he's taking out monsters left, right, and center. Now, this is the one thing where I'm like, I get adrenaline, but they really haven't had much time to recover, right? Like, this is... in the animation, they make it look really, really easy, but, you know, these people they're still bloody, they're still beaten down, like, they're still reeling from their hits, and they're able to take out monster after monster after monster. It's wild. So, the long and the short of it is... Ryu starts doing her big divine wind attack. And Belle is like running at her, and he's like, what are you doing? And she's able to just unleash holy hell down on all the monsters, and one of the little orbs picks up Belle and just launches him to the other side. And she's like, run, you fool. And then just kind of throws herself into the fray of the monsters. The monsters beat the snot out of her for a while. Like, she's able to put up a fight. But it's literally an indefinite wall of monsters. Like, you can only do so much. And so she starts having regrets, and she starts, basically making what peace she can with her life. And then there's a giant explosion. And in runs Belle. And he's got that blaze stone. And he is charging it with his Argonaut blast. And then just uses it like a tactical nuke. Launches it in the air, and then hits it with his firebolt, and it's just... It's a tactical nuke. It's just... Like, everything just... For some reason, my hands are green screening out today, and I don't know why, but yeah. Try not to talk with my hands too much, even though I do that a lot. But it's just... And it's just... it was amazing. That was pretty much the episode. I mean, there wasn't a lot that happened, but I gotta say the suspense was 10 out of 10. Here's where I get to the one negative aspect of this episode. And guys, it's the same thing I harp on every single time with JC Staff. You get to an episode like this, where like the animation could make or break the episode, and it starts to fall flat. There was a lot of details left out of both Belle and Ryu. A lot of shading missing. A lot of just fine details in like their wounds or their arms. There's like a whole scene where Belle's arm is like just one solid color and like barely drawn in there like a 5-year-old drew it. It was really embarrassing. I'm like, the animation of this was like, sometimes it was really spot on. But then you see like a monster with like a jaw that's sideways, just totally off model. And, you'd have like that, a situation where there's no definition in the character. So I think animation wise, the best I could probably give it is a 7. And that might be, it might be I'll say 6.5. I'll split the difference. I really think it was definitely below average. Or I won't say below average. I'd say below. I hate to say that because 6.5 is above average. Like let's like a 5. When it was on, it was on. That's the good news. When it was off, man, was it off. But I think it was honestly off about 20% of the time. If you average it, I'm going to say 6.5. But the rest of the episode was a solid 9 to 10. So, I mean, overall, I'm going to give the episode an 8, 7.75. Because I can't quite give it a solid 8, but I don't want to knock it too much just on the animation. Because I don't think the writing was there, the suspense was there, the dialogue was there, the pacing was there, literally everything else. But the animation really just did this episode dirty. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. I'm excited to see what's coming next. I'm really, really, really enjoying this season. And I'm going to be sad to see this season go because it has been so good. But I will probably rewatch this 2 or 3 times just after it's done because it was such a solid, solid season. I don't know if it's my favorite season, but it's definitely the best from a production standpoint season yet. And I think I said that last time too. But anyway, like, comment, share, let me know your thoughts down below. I'm rambling at this point, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.